We had some breaking news pop off within the last couple of hours. I was at the gym when it came out, so I didn't get a chance to jump right into it. But Kevin Durant has been traded to the Houston Rockets. I wouldn't call this necessarily a blockbuster trade, but it is a pretty big trade. Obviously, you're talking about one of the superstars in the NBA right now, one of the best five players that you can possibly get on your team as of right now. The reason why I'm not saying it's a blockbuster trade, yes, it is Kevin Durant. Yes, he is a prolific scorer. Yes, he is a future Hall of Famer, NBA champion, Finals MVP, 14-time All Star. Got all that. He's 38 years old and could be in a situation where he probably retires in the next 2 to 3 seasons. I'm not 100% sure, but obviously Houston felt good enough about this trade that they feel like there's still a lot in the tank. Breaking down what the trade is, full details right here, thanks to Legion Hoops. Rockets, they get Kevin Durant. Suns get Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, 2025 number 10 pick this year, and then 5 second round picks. So ultimately, a potential altering, franchise altering kind of trade if you're looking at it from those 5 second round picks. I mean, Houston kind of giving up a little bit of a haul here. So I know the first thing people say is who won the trade. Right now, looking at it, anytime that you're giving away 6 draft picks for one player, that is a heavy haul, and you also are giving up Jalen Green. Seemed like the writing on the wall was for this trade because a lot of different sports media outlets had already been saying. I know Stephen A. Smith said that he hinted at it. I think after Game 7, where Jalen Green scored 8 points against the Warriors, he hinted at it that it was time for him to pack his bags and potentially use the 2 picks that Phoenix had in order to go get a Kevin Durant. And I also saw some tweet earlier from this offseason for the Rockets, at least, of Nick Wright was saying that, hey, this is the potential trade. He didn't have the 5 second round picks in there, but he did have the number 10 pick. He did have Jalen Green, and he also, I believe, did have Dillon Brooks inside that trade also. So it sounded like the writing was on the wall that Houston was always going to be the place. And what I've kind of thought about as I looked at this trade, this is a move that you make if you feel like your championship window is right now. If you feel like you have a championship window within the next 1 to 2 years, this is the type of move that you make. And I do think that Jalen Green kind of shot himself in the foot a little bit because the only reason why he was even considered trading is because of the Warriors series. I think that you ended the regular season as the number 2 seed. You felt really good about your championship hopes, championship aspirations. Sengun had become an all-star. Thompson, great prolific scorer. Jabari Smith has started to play well. Fred Van Vleet, he obviously winning the championship with the Raptors, coming in here to add a little bit of championship DNA. Also, plus your bench, you feel like you had a pretty good shot to make a deep run in the playoffs. So, you know, everybody was really good when 38 points. You felt really good about that after Game 2, bouncing back off of a loss. Game 2, you dropped 38 points, and then 9, 8, 11, 12, and 8 the rest of the way out of the series from what the Rockets probably thought was a prolific scorer. And all in all, this has been a career year for Jalen Green. Most points he's ever had, played a full season. Best 3 point percentage that he's had all season for his career. Best free throw percentage he's had for his career. Um, yeah, like all across the board, this is one of his better seasons. So obviously, it was right for them to trade him because you're at the peak of his powers. And this might be a situation where he is a regular season kind of baller. But then they looked at it like, well, we need you to show up in the playoffs. And you had a 38-point game, which is solid, but single digits for 4 out of the 7 games and only double digits for 3, and we're only talking 12 and 11 points. You're not going to win that way. So I think Kevin Durant coming to the team with a Van Vleet, a Jabari Smith, a Sengun, a Thompson, I think that works together to get the scoring and the spacing that if they had it during this postseason, they probably have a harder time. I think they beat the Warriors. Um, and then who knows what happens from there. But I think that gives them a better shot. If you're looking at this again from like a right now today, then yeah, like the Rockets win the trade as of today. We can look up in 2 years and say that this trade was won by Phoenix because of the picks. Now there are some players that do come out of the second round, but 6 picks, Dillon Brooks and Jalen Green is quite a haul for one player. This is the potential starting lineup for next year. I feel good about it. Again, this is a number 2 seed, and let's be honest, Kevin Durant has a history of this. We already know. You know, you had the Warriors that added Kevin Durant, and they won 2 consecutive championships. Could have won 3 if it wasn't for injuries in 2019. So you know, this is Kevin Durant's typical kind of moment where he takes a team that's number 1, 2, or 3 and moves them into prime position to make a championship run. So I do expect that this is a big thing for Houston. I think this works. I think a lot of Houston fans, I did see a little bit of discourse talking about, hey, we traded, Jalen Green. He was, the star of the future. A lot of different things that could happen. Yeah, true. But if you're the Houston Rockets and you're in that organization and you're thinking, man, this guy dropped 38 and didn't give us anything in the first round, and this whole year he's been doing all this stuff for us, it makes it tough. It makes it tough for them to really bite down and say, this is our guy long term, for this entire thing. I mean, you averaged 21. Did I see that right? For this season, he averaged 21 points for the season. His only second behind in terms of his average because he played less games in 2023. But it's 21 points. You had 38 in game 2. You're not even giving us your average. It's a complete fall off from what you had in the regular season to now, which had to be the reason for the trade. Now, I want to spend time on the Phoenix side of it because obviously they're getting Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, along with Booker, along with Bradley Beal. I think this helps them defensively. Dillon Brooks, obviously, a help with defense. Jalen Green, not a huge, prolific defender, but better than what I would say if you had Durant, Booker, and Beal. I think slightly younger and obviously a little bit better of a defender overall. So I think this makes them a little bit more competitive. I don't see this taking them to I don't see this taking them to the top of the Western Conference. They might be considered like a 6 or 7 seed right now. Obviously, with this move for the Suns, maybe an 8 seed. I think they make the playoffs with this move because again, it gives them some defensive prowess. We'll see what they do with that number 10 pick as well this year. I think that gives them a little bit of opportunity to make a run. But looking at it today, I think Houston comes out on top of this, and Phoenix has Booker. They still have a star there. I'm not sure what this looks like for Phoenix now, but long term, I think something can happen with them as long as they get some cohesion together. And something extremely interesting that I just want to bring up because obviously today is also Game 7, also OKC versus Indiana. Had an entire content list of what I wanted to do today with picks and predictions, but obviously this takes precedent. Um, the NBA has done a really poor job, in my opinion, of how do I want to say it? Promoting this entire finals. If you had to pick the best outcome for the league to get the most viewers, to get the most anticipation, to build the best story, to really make it a draw, to get everybody to come in and watch one game. If you had to build it out, it would be an NBA championship on the line. It will be a game 7. It would be a massive underdog versus a huge heavyweight, a number 1 seed versus a number 4 seed, one team that's expected to win, one team that isn't expected to win at all, on two completely different sides of the coin. This is your first time you have a game 7 as the NBA in a decade, and the 20th time that it's happened since, I think, since the merger, or maybe all across the board, ABA and NBA. But first time it's happened in 10 years. Nobody could have held the source. No one could have said, hold on. No one could have just waited a day or two after the finals, because now this entire story is taking up all of the air for anything that was any interest about Oklahoma City and Indiana. And you can almost bet there'll be a broadcast point tonight about Kevin Durant being traded, having been from the Thunder, and there's going to be some kind of parallel for that, because Kevin Durant is not the only player that has went from Oklahoma City and found their way to Houston. Russell Westbrook was there. James Harden was there. Kevin Durant was there. Steven Adams was there. So there's going to be a parallel on that tonight. So now that distracts a little bit from the viewership of what they're going to end up talking about, being focused on the game. But for a game 7 NBA, massive heavyweight versus an underdog, that's the dream scenario you would want to promote the game. And y'all couldn't hold the source, y'all couldn't hold the trade until Tuesday. Give people something to talk about. Let the finals happen. Let the fallout happen on Sunday night. Let everybody talk about it on Monday morning. But now Kevin Durant is going to be the talk of the entire week, and obviously today, with this trade. So whatever. That's a little thing I'm just kind of annoyed with, because this would never happen in like the NFL. You wouldn't hear of a massive blockbuster trade like the day before the Super Bowl or the day of the Super Bowl that Jonathan Taylor got moved to the Texans, or moved to a different team for another player and and a first round draft pick and then 5 picks. You would never hear that during that week, because the focus is on that moment. All in, Kevin Durant to the Rockets, Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks to the Phoenix Suns. This puts Houston in a better position for them to become a top contender in the Western Conference next year. Some people already said Dallas versus Houston as the Western Conference Finals next year, with Cooper Flag Cooper Flag, AD, and Kyrie versus Amen Thompson, Fred Van Vleet, Sengun, and Kevin Durant. We'll see. I mean, Oklahoma City still might say something about that. Got a couple videos coming in later this afternoon. Had to get this breaking news out of there. So thank y'all so much for watching. If you can, like, comment, share, subscribe as we continue to give y'all more news and updates from the Scale Sports channel.